In this video, I'll cover two things. One, I'll show you how to make a chicken rig. It's a very simple rig to make, and you should be able to follow and make one yourself. I saw requests from several of the video comments asking what rigs I make, what rigs I take on party boat trips. And the second thing I'm going to talk about are the things that I take on the boat trips, on the party boat trips. I probably use 10 to 15% of the things that I take, so I'll focus on those rather than the things that I never get used. Okay, the first thing I'm going to talk about is the chicken rig. I have not heard anyone call this a chicken rig until I moved down here, but this is what they call in Florida. This is a flat bank sinker. Not everyone uses this down here. I'm actually the only one that I saw using this type of a sinker. It's a bank sinker, but it's flat, so what it's supposed to do is that when it's on the seafloor, it has less tendency to roll because it's flat. I've seen someone use this on a talk trip up north, and he was catching when no one else was catching, and since then I was hooked. And I try to find this when I can. And we got the dropper loop. I'll show you how to make that. We got the hook, and we have the swivel. Swivel is important because it prevents lines from getting twisted. So you don't need any other tools besides what you see here: hooks, sinkers, swivels, and line. So one more thing about these chicken rigs is that it gets used more than once. I had a chicken rig that I used 6 to 7 trips before it got caught in a wreck and lost the rig. But when I get home from a trip, and if everything's intact, I rinse it off with fresh water and I let it dry, and I use it again on the next trip. One thing you'll see is that the line doesn't stay straight, or there will be some, weird things going on there, but it's still usable. I mean, when there's tension, it's relatively straight, so it's usable. You can use mono or fluorocarbon. I tend to prefer fluorocarbon, but I think for a chicken rig, mono is totally fine, so I'll start off with a mono. So you can go thin or thick, but for what I usually do down in Florida, I use 40, 50, 60 pound test. So for this example I'm going to show you, I'm going to use a 40 pound test. And you can also use fluorocarbon 30 pound with smaller hooks if you'd like. I don't think it really matters, really. Okay, so it starts off, get the line out. A simple dropper loop. Okay, so I give a little room to make sinkers with, and I'll show you how to make a sinker loop later. So basically, you bring that line, end of the line on the right side to the top, go underneath once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. You don't want to do too many. I think 5's enough. So in this case, I'm going to show you how to basically you spread, make room to put the line through, right? And you stick it in there. And I have to actually use my mouth to pull this. This is important because you want to apply tension to both sides so it doesn't become weird, because if you have one tension stronger than the other, then it can get messed up. So what I do is I pull this middle one with my mouth, and I pull from both sides. And you can see that it's tight. Again, you can mess up, and if you do mess up, the line will probably get smaller. This loop will get smaller and smaller and smaller as you pull, and then you won't even see a loop. So you know when you have done it right, when you're pulling evenly center and from the sides. And then I like to go up maybe this much. Like I said, it's really preference on how far you want to spread these hooks apart. You do the same loop again, a drop loop once. It's pretty tight. So this is what it looks like so far. And then I like to have 3 hooks on there. So maybe the third one. I mean, you try to space it evenly if you want. It's really your preference. turned out okay. So now I have 3 loops. 1, 2, 3. Bam. Okay. And then I figure out where I want to place my swivel, give it a little room because you need to make some knots at the end. Okay. So there you go. You can place 3 hooks in there. Okay, so I don't know the name of this loop, so I'm going to have to look it up later and give you the name. Essentially, it starts with a small loop and a big loop around it to put this tag between the middle. You need to feed this one through. Or big loop through the small loop, and you pull. There you go. Okay, and what this allows you to do is just put your sinker through that to the hole, and so that allows you to change the sinker based on how much current there is. So there you go. That's that. Now you can place 3 hooks. So this is just personal preference. This does cost a little more, but this is a saltwater fly, or a teaser as you call it. I've caught a lot of fish on this. And I don't put all 3 hooks with saltwater fly. I use 4/0, 5/0 hooks for the other ones. You can use bare, you can dress it if you like with squid, skirt. It's really up to what you want to do. Okay, so in this section, I'm going to show you how to put on the hooks. So first one I'm going to show you is just regular. What I like to do is I put it in, put it through the eye, and I do an overhand knot. So basically bring it overhand, and I put the hook through it. I'll give you the name of the knot, and then you just pull. There you go. So that's on there. Yep, I'm just going to do the same kind of knot where I squeeze it at the end, put it through the eye, do the overhand, and pull it, go around the hook. So there you go, you got the 2 hooks. And the last one, it took 2 or 3 trips until I became confident. What you have to do is you cut one of the 2 sides of the loop. And I didn't do this initially because I was afraid that it would come off, but so far I never had a case where I lost due to breaking in the middle. So in this case, I'll cut the bottom. So I'll leave a little room over there. And there you go. And with this, you can do any kind of knot. I like to snell when I can. For this case, I'll just do a simple knot. You can do clinch knot if you like, improve clinch knot, whatever you want. I'll give you the name of the knot. Go. Cut the tag off. There you go. And you just attach the swivel at the end, and you should be good. Again, this is one way to do it. You can cut one of the loops, and as long as you have a tight loop, it's not going to come off. And then the saltwater fly, and a bare hook on the bottom using a different kind of knot, and then the flat bank sinker. Again, this is just optional. You can just use any regular bank sinker to make it work. Okay, so now into the second topic, which is what goes in my bag. All right. Okay, so here's the bag I take. So here's the bag I take on boat trips. I've seen several people have the same bag. It's a bag from Walmart. It does its job. And first thing is sun protection. On a boat, you'll be surrounded by the sun mostly, and there's a lot of reflections, and you may feel silly wearing gloves and wearing face shields at first. I mean, I did. I felt silly wearing all this, but after you come back from the trip and don't see any burns or don't have to put on sunblock, I never went back. So this is what I always take with me when I go on a boat trip. Cover my hands and cover my face. That way you don't have to spray sunblock or apply sunblock. I mean, I've seen people on single trip, beginning they were totally fine, on the way back they're just totally burned red. So if you're not gonna wear these, wear sunblock or bring sunblock. Okay, another very important thing is Advil if you get headaches, and more importantly, insurance, which is Bonine and Dramamine. Next thing I use this very frequently are the pliers, and you see in a lot of my videos. If you're very new to party boat fishing, you may not want to touch the fish, especially if you don't know what it is. And if you're like me, you'll get tired of buying cheap pliers that rust and bend, and eventually you'll want to upgrade and get a titanium pliers that will last you a long time. So this is probably my 5th or even 6th, 7th set of pliers that I've owned. And this looks like it's rusting already and it's bending out of shape, you can see. So it's really up to you. Do you want to just go on 2-3 trips a year and just buy a cheap pliers, or do you want something that will last a long time? That's with anything, right? Okay. And just because I use cheap pliers, I need these. These are little snips that cut braid line, monoline. It's easy to clip line with this. Okay. And if you plan on making your own rigs, I recommend you bring your own leader, whether it's mono, fluorocarbon, whatever. They prefer to use 50-pound heavier line, because if you use lighter line and lose fish, that can lead to shutting down the bite, and you may get blamed if you keep breaking fish off. So start heavy and go lighter, and play it by ear to see what other regulars are using, and you can usually pick up on who the regulars are. They know the mates and they catch a lot of fish. I'm not there yet. I'm working my way up to becoming better at catching fish in Florida waters, party boats anyway. Okay, sunglasses. And I like sun protection, as you can see, with my face, my hands, my eyes. You know, you're surrounded by reflections, so just protect yourself from the sun. Okay, and these trips go 1 to 2 hours out, you know, mostly closer to 2. And oftentimes you don't get enough sleep. And one of the reasons why you get sick on the boat is because you don't get enough sleep. And it's good to take a nap on the way to and the way from the boat. And I like to be comfortable, so I bring, you know, neck pillow or a regular pillow and sleep on the boat, find some room and just nap. Okay. What other things? Everything else may be non-essential. Maybe you want to bring hand sanitizer, because before you eat food, you may want to sanitize a hand so it doesn't smell like squid and sardines. First aid kit I bring my own sinkers and hooks. And everything else, yeah, is stuff that I don't really use. There's not much in there, really. I guess I got some jigs in there in case I want to try jigging. I have some tools to tie lines. I have a knife in there that I don't use. And pre-made rigs. I put them in these bags and I just pull them out. You know, on a good day, I don't lose them, but you know, this one I haven't even used here. It works really well for sea bass. It's a Lucanus jigs, Shimano. I think I used it once or twice here, but it hasn't worked, so I stopped using it. But as you can see, I just have everything pre-made, so I can just pull it out and go. Okay, that's pretty much it. There you go.